Good evening, and welcome to our program. Today, we are honored to have with us a distinguished Muslim scholar who will shed light on the rules of war in Islam. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to discuss this important topic.
To begin, could you elaborate on the principles and rules that govern the conduct of war in Islam?
Certainly. In Islam, the rules of war are deeply rooted in the Quran and the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The overarching goal is to ensure justice, proportionality, and ethical behavior, with a primary focus on minimizing harm to civilians and ensuring humane treatment of all parties involved.
One key point you mentioned is the concept of a just war. Could you explain what constitutes a just war in Islam?
In Islam, a just war, or jus ad bellum, is one fought only in self-defense or in defense of others who are oppressed. The Quran explicitly emphasizes the principle of justice and discourages aggression, as mentioned in verses 190-193.
The principle of proportionality is also highlighted. How does Islam address the use of force in warfare?
Islam strictly prohibits excessive use of force. The response to aggression must be proportionate to the threat faced. This principle is derived from the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who cautioned against excess and retaliation.
Protecting non-combatants is a fundamental aspect. Can you share more about Islam's stance on harming civilians during war?
Deliberate harm to civilians, including women, children, and the elderly, is strictly forbidden in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, specifically prohibited the killing of non-combatants and the destruction of crops and infrastructure during war.
What about the treatment of prisoners of war? How does Islam emphasize humane treatment in such situations?
Islam places great importance on the humane treatment of prisoners of war. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, provided clear guidelines for their treatment, ensuring their basic needs are met and protecting them from harm.
Another significant point is the prohibition of torture. How does Islam address this issue during times of conflict?
Islam explicitly forbids torture and cruelty. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prohibited the mistreatment of prisoners and condemned any form of physical or psychological torture.
Environmental protection during warfare is a unique aspect. Could you explain how Islam addresses this concern?
Islam prohibits the destruction of the environment during warfare. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, specifically forbade the cutting down of trees and the poisoning of wells during military campaigns.
The emphasis on a formal declaration of war is intriguing. Why is this important in Islamic principles?
Islam underscores the importance of a formal declaration of war as a means to inform the enemy and provide an opportunity for peaceful resolution. This aligns with the Quranic call for reconciliation and peaceful settlement, Quran 49:9.
Finally, the treatment of the injured and the dead is a compassionate aspect of Islamic teachings. How does Islam guide its followers in this regard?
Islam mandates the proper treatment of the wounded and the respectful burial of the dead. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, instructed his followers to show mercy even to the fallen enemy, reflecting the broader ethical and moral framework of the religion.
Thank you for providing valuable insights into the rules of war in Islam. It's clear that these principles are deeply rooted in justice, compassion, and respect for human life.
My pleasure. I hope this discussion helps in understanding the ethical guidelines that Islam provides in times of conflict.